Are you okay? I stood there, tears rolling down my cheeks, shaking, as my mom kept asking me what was wrong. I was 7 years old, and I was in the middle of my first panic attack. I had been watching The Lion King, jumping up and down the couch, when my legs got caught in the blankets. I was tangled, trapped, and terrified. Soon after that, I realized that I had anxiety. It took a long time before I understood that I wasn't alone, and neither are you. Do you ever get the feeling that everyone is watching you, judging you? All of you could be judging me right now, and you probably are. Now, imagine that feeling multiplied, till that's all you can think about. Wherever you go, worrying, will they like me?
What if I do the wrong thing?
Why are they all staring?
Did I say something wrong?
Do my friends even like me?
They must think I'm so stupid.
My test grades are so bad. All these thoughts consuming your brain, that's anxiety, and that's my daily struggle. Sometimes these thoughts are diminished, and I'll go, all right, I'm fine, look how well I'm doing. But then a small thing, like a friend ignoring me in the hallway, or a lower test grade than I'd hoped, or even increased stress will bring these thoughts right back. At some points, it feels like life just isn't worth it because I'm so scared of everything.
Right now, as teenagers, our minds and bodies are supposed to be developing. We're supposed to be nourishing them. We're supposed to be taking care of ourselves. However, so many students barely have any time for this because they're too busy worrying about anything and everything until it begins to consume their lives. It goes without saying that we're all stressed out, and the competitive environments that we are always surrounded by do not make life any easier. And for the many of you out there dealing with anxiety, I know that sometimes even the smallest inconveniences can feel like the ends of the world. I remember a little while back, someone once asked me to describe a perfect world, and the very first thing that came to mind was a place with no anxiety or stress. They proceeded to ask me why I was always so stressed out in the first place, and I explained how I was constantly scared of failing my test, and even though I usually ended up doing decently, we'd immediately have another one, and the cycle just continued. I felt stuck. And then they said to me, tests shouldn't be causing you all of this pain. It's normal to feel that way, but honestly, who cares? They're just numbers. I couldn't help but laugh at this. Just numbers? How are they just numbers? When you're a student in high school, regardless of how intelligent you are, the pressure just seems to sit on your shoulders and weigh you down despite how hard you try to let it all go. Sometimes it feels like things will never get any better.
This is obviously a problem, but talking about it is not enough. Sometimes people recognize that they have anxiety or that certain things are causing them to feel stressed out. However, many people choose to just ignore the causes, thinking, nah, I'm just overreacting, or it'll get better by itself. The important thing to realize here is that you need to find the things that stress you out and give you anxiety, and you need to do something about them. We need to do something. Yes, people talk about stress. Yes, people talk about anxiety, but no one ever tells you how to deal with it. We need a solution.
I've witnessed too many people having mental breakdowns over grades that weren't good enough to satisfy themselves or their parents. After all, my peers are staying up until 3 in the morning trying to cram in 75 words of Russian vocabulary, and the steps it takes to prove that a geometric figure is not an isosceles trapezoid. So, oftentimes, we have no choice but to break down when the outcome isn't as high as we might have hoped. I'll always be sure to ask someone if they're okay if I see them having one of these moments of panic. And they'll either say, I'm fine, I'm just really stressed, or, yeah, I'm just having some anxiety. We practically use the words interchangeably because it's like a domino effect. As stress builds up in the pit of our stomachs and expands until it has reached every point in our bodies, it becomes too strong to choke back down, and almost impossible to keep all of it bottled up inside. At this point, if we don't receive the help that we so desperately need out of fear of embarrassing ourselves or drawing unwanted attention to our problems, we are not going to get any better. This is where anxiety comes into play, slowly conquering the minds of innocent adolescents all over the country. More specifically, anxiety is basically a person's reaction to stress. Its origin is internal, but external stress is one of the most common triggers of anxiety. And if we were to minimize stress, we would gradually minimize anxiety as well.
Often, school is a major stressor. At least, for me it is. Many schools put so much work on the backs of struggling students that it's almost impossible to cope. All the tests, projects, and homework make it so difficult to relax. Your brain is always trying to figure out what you need to do next. Sometimes I get so frustrated that I'll start to break down because the stress is beginning to consume me. In that moment, the world is bleak and there is no hope. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. It's almost so stressful, as if everything could fall apart in a single moment. It's sometimes so overwhelming that it encompasses my every waking moment, and in all honesty, causes me to be terrified of every single thing that could pose even a little difficulty. Every small change in grades, or a new project, or even a more challenging topic that I'm used to can send me into a spiral of negativity. So now that we've identified the problem, how do we deal with it?
For me personally, it's all about finding an outlet, or a way of coping with the excruciating amounts of stress we have to tolerate on practically a day-to-day basis. Let's be real, it's easy to focus on all the things that are causing us pain, but it is so much more important to carefully look through life and pick out all the little things that make you feel alive. I believe every single person on this planet was born with something capable of filling their souls with euphoria, something capable of making them forget about everything going wrong in their lives, something capable of saving them when the anxiety takes over. My outlet is writing poetry. Whenever I don't think I'm ever going to feel okay again, I just grab a pen and allow the words to pour out of my heart. Because for me, writing about difficult times is ultimately what gets me through them. It's a way for me to heal, and I promise that all of you listening to me speak right now have your own personal outlets that will get you through the healing process.
Personally, my outlet is reading. Life isn't always great, and sometimes things seem unsolvable. But a book is a gateway to another universe, where the only problems are fictitious villains, and the hero always wins. Ever since I was little, books have been my escape from reality, if only for a little while. I always idolized the hero, who began with seemingly impossible problems to solve, and ended with a happy ending, and the problems nowhere to be found. And although life doesn't always end with happy endings, it's the idea of one that helps me fight through the darkness. Till today, a book is never far from me.
Like I said, this outlet is different for everyone because we're all unique in our own ways. It may be reading a book, like Sukaina talked about, playing a sport, listening to music, playing an instrument, or really anything else that makes the stress go away for a while. Once you pinpoint what this is for you, it is crucial to incorporate it into your extremely busy schedules. I know that time isn't necessarily on our sides, but if you do this thing that brings you joy for only about 10 minutes a day, over time, you will begin to feel less stressed. And I'm not saying that writing poetry makes me stress-free all the time, but it brings me one step closer than I was to this point. And I know it may seem daunting, but if you genuinely want to feel less stressed, then you will find the time for your personal outlet. We don't have control over external forces, like the amount of tests we have next week, but we do have control over our reaction to these factors. And in the end, that's what's going to make all the difference. If you look in the mirror every morning and tell yourself, I can do this, I can get through this day, I don't have to let anxiety win, then you're indisputably more likely to feel less anxious throughout the day. Try it for yourself. It's called the law of attraction, and it is scientifically proven that positive thoughts will bring positive experiences into a person's life. It's all about perspective, and the choice is in your hands.
There are so many people out there, just like you, me, and Alyssa, who suffer from this stress. There are so many people out there who understand what you're going through. There are so many people out there who have been through it and have overcome it. You need to remember, you are not alone. Even when life seems bleak and so terrifying you don't think you can make it through, remember that countless others have been in your shoes, and they made it. So if you can, talk to someone, confide in them. Tell them how you feel. Talk about your stress, your anxiety, your outlet, and maybe, who knows, they might share some of the same experiences. When you're at your lowest, it's important to have a person who is right beside you, helping you through the panic and the stress. For me, Alyssa has been that person. When I would start to spiral, terrified of failing a test or panicking at the amount of work I had in the next few days, she was always the person I would talk to. It was so relieving to have a person who understood what I felt and could empathize with the terror consuming me. She helped me put things into perspective. Now, yes, the terror didn't always fully go away, but just knowing that she was there made me feel infinitely better. I know that all of you have that one person in your life you can tell everything to. A parent, a sibling, a friend. Rely on them. They are there for you, even in your darkest times. I'll say it again. You are not alone. No matter how much you believe that you're the only one in the world going through this, there are others who feel the same way. And if they can do this, so can you. You are the most important thing there is. Your life is valuable, not your grades. It's you who matters.
And most of all, you have to remember that at the end of your life, you are not going to worry about or even recall what grades you got in high school. I know that we're constantly being compared to each other on a scale of 0 to 100, but the truth is that you are special. You are 1 in 7 billion, and you are so much more than your anxiety. Life is so beautiful, and it's all the little things that add up to create something so breathtaking. One low grade is not more important than who you are as a person. The experiences you've had, the relationships you've formed, the chances you've taken, the memories you've made, the individual you become, that's what really matters.
Every single person is unique, and each and every one of you deserves to live your life stress-free and without anxiety. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen, but you need to make the best of life. Every second you spend terrified of what's to come or stressed about something that in the long run doesn't really matter is a second wasted. Life is short, and you need to spend it with those who matter. You need to spend it doing what matters. There are so many things in this world that are mind-blowing, astonishing, beautiful. You are one of those things, and you need to take care of yourself. We're obviously not perfect, we're human. You're allowed to feel stressed out, and you're allowed to panic, but grades truly shouldn't be the sole reason behind it. I'm sure we've all seen some high numbers, and also some much too low numbers, but there's so much more to life than these numbers. I need you to know that you are more than just a number. Thank you.